This week, I'm going to talk about OpenAI and Hugging Face and the breach there. We got a couple of questions about that. And since I'm keeping these short, I'm really just going to focus on takeaways for defenders because that's the audience here. Hugging Face did a full technical breakdown blog that came out earlier this week. If you haven't read it, you should go read it. Most of what I'm going to say is honestly just kind of coming from there. The biggest surprise for me in between the incident being announced, the initial reports about it, and Hugging Face's breakdown was I assumed there would be more 0 days involved. I just kind of thought, well, there's going to be a bunch of unexpected stuff and it's going to have found, the OpenAI model is going to found all these things. But there's only one 0 day involved, and that was actually the one that it used to break out of its sandbox at OpenAI. And past that, the interesting thing to me was just how familiar all of the remediations were that Hugging Face did at the end because of how this thing managed to get in and establish a foothold and then pivot. Template execution CVEs and lack of workload identity and access to the AWS metadata information from pods and all these things that are just the things that we should all be closing down, but you never necessarily have time to. Their takeaway was just how much the scale of one of these agents can allow it to work on the small little things that you never got around to. And I'll be interested to see, a couple questions ago, I talked about how do you justify budget for the things you need to do, and part of the algorithm there is what's the likelihood we're going to get breached on any particular thing. And I think one takeaway for me here is the likelihood just went up. I think this can probably be pretty effectively used to justify budgets for taking care of those small little things you never quite got around to in your security. Get workload identity done. I heard a couple people this week mention that security through obscurity is gone. And I think that ties in here. I actually don't know that that's true, because the funniest part of this to me, the thing that really literally made me laugh out loud about this, was that the reason the model targeted Hugging Face is that somewhere in its training data, there was something that suggested that Hugging Face had the answers to the cybersecurity benchmark that it was supposed to pass. And OpenAI's model breached a 0 day, and then came up with several clever and somewhat novel ways to break into a fairly secure set of infrastructure to cheat on a test. And I'll leave you with that on how that may make you think about OpenAI. But for defenders, really, it's the same story. And I think that's the good news, is we already know the work to do. We just have to get it done. Like and subscribe, leave any comments. I would love to know what you think about all this. Thanks.